So Abby was born by IVF. We're pretty lucky to even have her. We lost quite a few embryos, so we're pretty blessed with what we've had. She's a little active little girl, always on the go. Pretty much go from one activity to the other, and then 5:30, 6 o'clock she'll crash and then be up at 7 o'clock the next morning, eager to go. She loves swimming. She was swimming from 18 months and just a little fish in the water, jumping in and out, even with lessons, even made it to pre-squad levels. Always giving everything a go, pretty much. My name's Cassie. Got a daughter, Abbygail, who's 16, and she suffers from a condition called functional neurological disorder, is known as FND. So with FND, it's quite a complex condition. The easiest way to explain it is your brain's like a computer. With epilepsy, it affects the hardware of the brain. With FND, it affects the software of the brain. When Abby has one of her FND episodes, she could be standing and then just pretty much everything just drops completely to the ground. And then she just goes unresponsive as she falls at the same time. So she could be unresponsive on the ground anywhere from 20 minutes to 9 hours. When she comes around, she's really tired. She could lose movement from the neck and shoulders down. So she's got no movement control of sensation from her hands, shoulders, legs, toes. She can't feel or move. The longest so far has been 3 months, having to relearn to walk as well. Des and I were heavily involved. We're volunteer firefighters. I started when I was 16 in the rural. That's how we met, and then he continued through to the New Zealand Fire Service, where Abby was pretty much brought up in the firehouse as a second home with the volunteers. Our family life has been really heavily involved in the community. When we moved to Australia in 2015, that service continued. Des has joined the SES service. That's where Abby, her hobby, she likes community service, Girl Guides. She also likes arts and crafts, especially horses and animals. She likes doing that as a therapy, and just sort of chilling out with Xbox like a normal teenager. So 2018, we got a phone call from school saying that Abby was unresponsive, and then 2 days later, got another phone call from school saying Abby's unresponsive again. This particular one, it was even longer. She was unresponsive for nearly 9 hours. And then that's when they did quite a few testing, like CT scans, MRI scans, blood tests, a lot of the scans you can think of and tests they've done. It was about 8 months down the later when we saw the neurologist at the Children's Hospital, and that's when we got the diagnosed of FND. It was very hard, just really not knowing and learning information that was really rare. And then the next plan was to go to the Kim's ward at Robina for a week, where we got told this is not the place for her, but not really knowing where to go for treatment, who to go, because we got told there was no medical treatment for it, and not having the funds and stuff like that to be able to get it through. So we just managed to get NDIS for autism and ADHD, but the FND wasn't really approved, so it's just trying to find everything out. When Abby was in the bathtub, when she completely went unresponsive, it was probably one of the most hardest things I've had to deal with. I was on my own. She had a proper seizure in the bath as well, full of water. Having to secure her safely. Having to try and get extra support, ring around to get extra support for her. One of her support workers was free to come and give me a hand. We took 2 of us to get her out of the bath. Normally it should have been like a 4-person job.
having injuries myself, and it was really, really hard. Having to then drag her out from the bathroom because we couldn't get a chair and we couldn't get a hoist in there to a safe point and just let her recover. She probably ended up having like 14 or 13 or so episodes until she fully recovered. So it was just probably one of the hardest times I've had to deal with.
Being like an active child to non-active, these tiniest things we used to take for granted, and getting out and doing things, where now we look at her moods and stuff and say, look, oh, she's too tired. No, we can't do that today. It's just not going to work, which makes it really, really hard. Just those tiniest little things can be a challenge for everything. The FND impacts quite a big thing, like Abby can't get in the community because of the risk of having episodes and going down. She can no longer attend mainstream school. For the last nearly 3.5 4 years, we've had an ambulance to her every single day. It was about 2019 we worked out she had 66 ambulances to her. So it's impacting getting out in the community, having to have an adult with her all the time. She can't go on her own because it's just too much of a risk. When Abby's been around a therapy dog, we've witnessed that she's been more calm, collective, less stress, and just a different child, being able to manage and cope in a different way. Having access to an assistance dog would change Abby's life dramatically. Definitely giving independence and pre-warnings would definitely help at night, especially if she was having an episode at night, and then coming to warn us in a way so then we can come in and assist a little bit further. Will just give us a bit of freedom and a bit of less stress having to worry about that tiniest things at night time. Every year she deteriorates even worse and worse and worse. October be 4 years, and they say therapy is the key to survive and to get through this treatment. So having the dog as well is going to be part of that therapy and help improve everything a little bit more. As they say, the longer you leave it, the worse it gets. It's probably best to act now before it gets even worse, and then she'll be paralysed a much longer period of time.